This is the Founders Catalyst. Hello, welcome back into another installment of the Founders Catalyst with myself, Steve Meller. For those of you listening to us for the first time, let me introduce my co-host by letting him introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Povey Lee. I'm Lee Povey, leadership coach, all-around lovely human being with a much better head of hair than Steve. If you are not watching this on our YouTube channel, which you should be doing because, we're a couple of cheeky British blokes.
Yeah, we're both dressed. We're both dressed to impress right now. Let's put it that way. Righto. But hey, what's funny about this episode is that we are coming into this, firstly, hot off recording the previous episode, but secondly, right before we did that, we were both catching up on life, and we both have a sense of this thing called overwhelm at the moment. Lots of stuff going on, looking at our calendars and being like, yeah, I'm supposed to be the kind of person that's reinforcing others to not do what I'm doing, and here I am now, exhibit A of how not to do this. And so this is kind of us calling ourselves out a little bit and showing really from a time management standpoint how easy it is just to fall into the trap of piling up the schedule and allowing it to happen. And we're definitely going to get into that. But I want to allow you, Lee, now to share with our good people what your day looks like today. And let's see what we can learn from Lee's day.
I hope that sigh was fully audible. I'm a plonker, Steve, an absolute plonker. So
it's like for our American listeners, that's like a dick, like
well, like a soft version,
right.
So usually I am very pedantic about my calendar. I am good at putting things into my calendar, blocking things out. I have lunch break blocked into my calendar every day. I go to the gym 4 times a week. There's a slot booked in for that in my calendar. I'm typically very good about not breaking that. However, today I've broken all of my rules, and I'm going to set up my day, and then I'm going to think, which is a useful part, as to why have I done that and what's led to that. So we're recording this podcast starting at 7 o'clock in the morning for me. My wife left to go and visit her family at 2 o'clock in the morning, so it's not been the best sleep for me, as I was disturbed. And I don't like being disturbed when I'm asleep. I am a grumpy bear. And then I have this from 7 to 8:30. I have a call bang on 8:30 to 9:30. Then I'm boxing from 9:30 to 10. Bear in mind I have to get from my house to the gym, so I'm going to be taking a call in the car, which I don't like doing. Lacing my boxing gloves up in the car. Then I have a inquiry for one of my men's groups. Then I have a leadership group call. Then I have 2 coaching clients. And then I leave to drive to Joshua Tree to spend the weekend with my friends. And I don't have a break for lunch, which is not good for me because I don't do well without food. And I'm not going to have a shower from finishing boxing until I finish my calls. And then I'm going to be rushing to do that so I can get out the door to avoid the worst of the traffic to drive to Joshua Tree. Why have I done this, Steve?
Why have you done it? And why do we do it? Because again, I don't want to leave you on an island right now, because for me, I
appreciate the camaraderie here, mate.
I know. I'm swimming up to shore right now and hopping on the island with you. Because for me, like that, it's such a timely conversation for us to have. I've felt, I always call it a buckling. When I feel myself buckling at the knees, I'm like, okay, you can either pay attention to this buckling feeling or you can just stay that way. And I feel myself fortunate that I've created the kind of self-awareness to know that I need to do something about it. And I felt this in the last 2 or 3 weeks especially. And I've looked at my calendar, where I'm based here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A lot of the clients I work with, I go to them in person. And so I have to plan that out in my schedule, and that will mean that, hey, if you're not separating things by 15 to 30 minutes, you're not leaving time to drive. But sometimes when I leave just those gaps, my day is consumed of being in coaching sessions, driving to something else, being in that coaching session again, driving to something else. And before I know it, 7 hours has gone by, and I've not thought about Steve a whole lot. And like you, mate, I'm an avid gym goer. I care about my health. My health is my anchor in so many different ways. And I've noticed in the last three weeks especially that getting to the gym has become truly challenging. And I am flying into that gym. I'm flying out of that gym. I like to think I'm having a good workout, and then lo and behold, 3 or 4 days of that in a row, my body's telling me you're not putting enough time into this thing that really is part of who you are, and that anchor that I was alluding to before.
Yeah.
And how do we let this happen? I have this this way that I term it with all my clients, and it's the first thing I do whenever I find myself in this situation we're talking about, is why am I not protecting my time? And I use the term protection. I've always have done, especially since I started this business. Because when we use a term like protect, we immediately put the emphasis on the necessity of the time.
And it's important.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that immediately says, listen, if you cannot protect the time, then the next question becomes, what is it about the time that doesn't mean enough to you?
Yeah, it's not valuable.
It's not valuable. And we can sit here pointing and blaming and all this kind of thing until the cows go home. But I think for us, right now, when I go a few days and my version of lunch is a perfect bar in the car as I'm driving from one place to another, and I'm like, dude, that's not what you believe in. What are you doing? That's not
food.
Lunch. It's not food. And again, we do this to ourselves because we don't protect the time. And what I want to believe that we're here to talk about today is we want to be that voice in your ear right now. If you're hearing yourself, is that as much as we want to make it about our organization and the demands on us and the things that need to get done, you got to stop and you got to look in the mirror and you got to ask the hard question: does this time mean enough to me to protect it? And if it does, then we can actually start working from that point onwards.
Okay, so I'm going to be super predictable. I'm going to take a step back.
Yep.
Look at this from an elevated
I've gotten to
position.
a point now where I know there's nothing I can say that won't make you take a step back.
Take a step back. Look at this from a little bit of an elevated position. And I think there's a couple of things I want to do. I want to kind of talk about where we get to and then see if we can really delve into why we get there.
Yep.
So speaking for myself, I have a very high capacity for workload. Always have. When I had my real estate business, I could get more done in an hour than most of my staff could get done in a day. Just could. That's just the way my brain works. Mm-hmm. And that resilience and capacity can con me at sometimes into taking on more than I can energetically absorb. So it's not, cognitively I can deal with it, but it comes at an energetic cost of it just wears me out and it's not sustainable. And one of the things that I think both of us take from elite sports that makes a difference with the founders that we work with is the concept of, to perform at your best, you have to rest well. Mm-hmm. I take a lot of vacations for that reason. I believe deeply in rest. And because of my capacity for workload and my capacity for doing things, I've completely ignored that the last 4 or 5 months when I've been searching for a home, and every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we have been driving around looking at houses. So that break at the weekend where I take a day off from cognitive load, it's not even just a physical, it's the cognitive load of, right, we're going to look at these houses and there's a disappointment, this is not the one. Not having that break from the cognitive load has completely built up. And then what it's doing is affecting my decision making. I am not as sharp. I am not making decisions as clearly as I usually would. So then what happens when I'm not making decisions as clearly as I would? I go to a more instinctual version of myself and a less cognitive version of myself. So if we think about, and we've discussed this here before, the three parts of your brain, you've got the animal instinctive part, your cognitive part, and the computer, which is your stored behaviors and memories. I'm acting more from the instinctual part of my brain at the moment. And what does that part of my brain need? It needs people to like me, and it needs to feel useful. So, you know, when I've got a client saying, Lee, I could really do with a call. Have you got some time today? Instead of me saying, no, I need a break. I need time to get to the gym and do my boxing. Yep. I'm like, oh, I could do a phone call and I could fit you in as I'm driving to the gym. Yep. Would that be okay for you? And they're like, yeah, I need to chat. We can do that. And that's not ideal for them and not ideal for me. It would have been better to say, let's do it a different day when I can be more present, you can be more present. Or I've got 15 minutes, not a full session today. Let's do 15 concentrated minutes instead of me saying I'm going to give you a full hour. But there's that need from me to be liked and to be worthy and to be, oh, I'm there as your coach and I'm stepping up for you. And it's such a fine balance between being that person in people's lives, because I am that person in people's lives, and then, as you said, protecting my energy. And I think of it more as energy even than time. The time is the construct, but it's the energy ultimately of like, right, how much life force have I got to give to these different things? Protecting my energy. And then I'm also borrowing from the future. I'm going, well, I'm going to be away this weekend with my mates in Joshua Tree. That will not be stressful at all. That's going to be a ton of fun. Let me like super stress my day because then I can go and relax.
Right.
But then I'm robbing myself of getting there emotionally prepared to really enjoy that experience. And I'm feeling a lot of shame actually as I'm talking about this.
Yeah.
And I'm like explaining this and like, dear God, how have I ended up here with this is my day? Yeah. And it's insane. It's just stupid. Yeah. Because I didn't want to say to people, no, I don't have time for that.
Yeah. I feel that.
Or energy for that.
Yeah. Again, I feel that same shame because I'm hearing myself as you're speaking, especially the notion of the tired cognitive state and how that affects the decision making, and then the notion of borrowing from the future is just hitting me at my core right now in a way. It's just like, oh gosh, that's just you. And so for me, again, what I love to do with my clients is like, hey, well, when they give me some sort of insight around a problem that they're having, it's just like, well, if you were in the same situation, what would you say? You know, I almost want to practice that same thing with us right now is, you know, as I'm listening to you talk, I sit here and I go, well, if that were me, and I've just told everybody that it is, my immediate thought would be to go to what it is that's starting the chain. And like you said, the cognitive fatigue, that is 100% what my issue has been the last month. I'm operating on a less than ideal cognitive state. It is 100% impacting my ability to make better decisions, and I am becoming, you know, as you talk about instinctual. I almost look at it as reactive. You know, it's just like, again, it's just, yep, okay, sure, why not? Let's do it. And you're like, what did you just agree to? what did you just say yes to? You just said yes to something. It's on your calendar now, and it's like, okay. And you talk about your future self. Your future self's going to be pissed about this, buddy. Like, you know, you're borrowing from the future. And to be fair, that is something that I'm doing all the time. I'm always negotiating with myself and saying, hey, you'll have the time. I can see it right there. You'll get caught up. You'll be able to recover. And it's like, okay, you've been saying that for 4 weeks now, and you ain't recovered yet. So what's that about? You know, what's that about?
Yeah. I hadn't fully realized until we were talking, and this is why talking is so important, right? This is why having somebody that you can talk to and trust and feedback to is so important. I hadn't fully realized about the cognitive damage I was doing to my decision making until I'm like, that's what's going on, is I'm making poor decisions because I'm cognitively worn out. And reactive is the perfect, if we look at the above and below the line model from the Conscious Leadership Group, which I love using with my clients, the below the line is your emotive, reactive, instinctual state. So you're presented with a problem, you go into fight, flight, freeze or fawn, you do something from that space. It's reactive, it's not conscious. And I'm making reactive decisions, which is unusual for me. I'm a very intentional and conscious person usually. And I think I need to put some markers into my system where maybe even on a daily basis, I just ask myself for 5 minutes in the morning, am I feeling in a reactive state right now, or am I in a conscious state? And what do I need to do to move into that conscious state? Like, what choices am I making that feel more reactive than conscious right now?
Yeah.
And I think one of the mistakes that I make is I set my life up for everything to be optimal, and for that to happen, everything has to be optimal. And by that, I mean, I'd set my life up to work super hard. Then we're going to Japan on vacation, right? That's the big recharge. Then we come back and I promised myself while I was in Japan that we would not look at property. I was going to give myself 2 weeks of not looking at Redfin, just 2 complete weeks off of looking at property. And as I shared with you before we started this call, what happened? I'm on the plane to Japan. My realtor messages me and says, I think I found the one. Can you come and look at it? I'm like, no, I'm on a plane to Japan. He says, can I take your mum? I'm like, sure. They go, look, send me videos. And now I'm offering on a property I've not yet seen in the flesh while I'm in Japan. And I'm filling paperwork out while I'm in Japan. Me and Sarah both get sick while we're in Japan. I get flu while I'm there. She has a stomach virus that ends up with her going to hospital and having to be on an IV drip. And that 2 weeks of, okay, this is my emotional reset, gone. Still a wonderful vacation, still at the best sushi I've ever had in my life, still had a wonderful time. However, I didn't have the cognitive reset because I'm signing escrow forms, I'm applying for mortgages, I'm doing all of the stuff in between all of the moments of relaxation, so it's not true relaxation. Yeah. So I think what's hard for me as a human is adjusting plans. I'm great at making plans. I think where I struggle is to adjust plans and go, okay, that hasn't gone as optimally as it usually would for me. I now need to make some adjustments.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? And I think this could be something that this could be a really good opportunity now for us to shift into application. Where do you think we get hung up when it comes to making those adjustments? What is it that's stopping us from saying adjust?
A variety of things. For me personally, I think this is where my autism kicks in. I don't like change. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm very thoughtful.
I mean, that's
about. I mean, most
common.
people don't like change, to be fair,
but
for me, it's particularly challenging because I get a lot of safety and comfort in routine. I have the same smoothie every single day. Mm-hmm. I still look forward to it. My wife thinks I'm absolutely insane, and I'm like, oh, can't wait to have my smoothie. Same ingredients, same smoothie I've had since 2018, 7 years now.
I just want one of your smoothies now.
I've varied it every slightly. We can put the recipe in the show notes. It's a fabulous smoothie. But it's I like routine a lot. I'm living here. Maybe the audience has heard us talk about this before. I'm living in an Airbnb at the moment. We sold our old home. I had a wonderful office set up that I really liked, felt comfortable in. I'm in this office set up now. I do not feel comfortable in. It never feels relaxing for me to come in. It's not my office. It's a space in the lounge. It's not my comfortable workspace. So all of these things add up. And then I think my weakness is the ability to stop, change and go, okay, I need to do this differently than the optimal path I've set up for myself, because the optimal path has been kicked off, of course, by outside factors outside my control. I cannot control getting flu in Japan. We're not stupid. I wasn't doing anything stupid, but we're traveling, we're around people. There's a risk there. So I think the continual work for me personally is, okay, has my plan got knocked off of kilter? I need to stop, reassess the plan quicker, rather than the safe thing to me feels to stick to the plan. And then there's a little bit of underlining emotional element of that, of typically I have committed to do things and I don't like letting people down.
And that's where that you could not have created a better segue for me to jump in. That's I can promise.
Let me just get my baton out of the drawer and hand it over to you.
There you go. Well, I can promise the listeners right now, I was writing it down as you were speaking, and then you just went and said it. And yes, it's change. Yes, it's adjustment. But what's at the heart of that change? What's at the heart of that adjustment? And the what and the who do we need to either let go of, or, as our minds will consistently do, let down? And that was where my mind immediately went when I asked you that question around adjustment. It's at some point we have to do an audit of our routine and say, if this isn't serving me, it's not about necessarily, hey, make this different. It's what do I need to get rid of? And that is what, geez, look at any house. You're in the process of moving. How easy is it to say, like, okay, we're going to get rid of this and never see it again? Like, there's nothing more alarming than when you move a house to see just how much crap you hold on to because your inability to let go of stuff. And that's what we do in our routines. It's what we do in our lives. We've been in our house almost 6 years now, and our garage still to this day has stuff that my wife insists is not worthy of being thrown out, and yet it remains in our garage in a box and it does not see the light of day. And I'm like, those two truths cannot be. One of those truths must be false.
You might use it one day, Steve.
Right.
One day.
It's just like, so, but we do that in our routine. That's a thing. We do that in our routine, and we do it because, again, the fear of letting go of something, or more importantly and more realistically, the fear of letting someone down.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and this is kind of just a realization I'm having as we're speaking, we almost have to kind of let ourselves down, because to your point, Lee, you and I are cut from a similar cloth in the sense of we know we can carry a heck of a weight when it comes to what we put on ourselves. We know we are high performers, and we know we can carry a huge, heavy lift when it comes to the work that we do. And we have to acknowledge at some point and say, you know what? What's the cost? What's the cost of that, Steve? Like, is it allowing you to actually, to your point, have the kind of routine and have the kind of lifestyle that you alluded to being the truly optimal lifestyle, as opposed to negotiating with the future, assuming that you have any control over those 2 weeks in Japan and how they're going to go? Because really, what the future's going to turn around and tell you is that, hey, I know what you saw these 2 weeks being, but we're not going to let you have those 2 weeks. And that's life right there. And suddenly now...
The future loves giving you the middle finger, Steve.
Right. And so it's just like, well, what if we just control the present? What if we just stop, instead of negotiating with the future, instead of having this inner dialogue with ourselves in terms of almost, encouraging and motivating ourselves, you can do it, you can keep carrying the load, just stop and say, what truly does optimal look like? And how can I start taking those steps towards achieving that? Because I know what a great week feels like for me. And yet I don't consistently hold myself accountable to the routine that's going to allow me to achieve that. And that's on me.
Yeah. And when we're talking about letting down, I mean, yes, letting down other people and letting ourselves down. And that kind of goes in both ways. The letting down of you're not making the choices that are going to support you and your health, cognitive, physical, emotional. So I feel like, oh, I'm letting myself down because I'm not doing that thing I said I was going to do, or I'm not progressing, right? I'm not going to, this weekend I went and did a testing day for go-karting because I'm not going as fast as I want to go, and I need to work on my go-karting skills. But I was exhausted. I'm driving there going, oh, I don't know if I really want to do this. And I had fun. But I probably shouldn't have done that. I should have said, this is not the time. And I think because of the capacity I see so many high performers have, this is the mistake that they make of they just keep taking on so much when there is times where you have to stop and go, yes, I want to be a better go-kart driver. Doing that while I'm getting ready to buy a property, move, all of the work that needs to be done to the property that I've got to organise, all of the basic stuff so that we can move in there successfully, as you say, going through our stuff and throwing away half the stuff that we don't need, because it's been in storage for the last 6 months, Steve. 2/3 of my stuff has been in storage. The only thing I miss is my snowboard. The rest of it, I'm like, I don't even know what's in there.
Yeah,
there's some furniture in there that we'll need for the new house, but the rest of it, I'm like, I don't even know what it is.
And you only miss your snowboard because it's been in there during the winter. So that's it. I mean, you can't really even use it in the next few months. Sorry, that feels like I just kind of probably just took some wind out of your sails.
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Yeah, just make me feel even more depressed that I didn't get to snowboard this winter because I don't know where my snowboard and boots are. It's just this thing of readjustment, and it's okay to readjust. And if you're like me and you hate change, it's realizing that it's okay to let go of that, to recognize the fear, go, yes, this is change, but it's change for the better and you need to have it. And letting go of being perfect. I think that's very difficult for me. Is if I've said I'm going to do something, my personal integrity is so high that I feel I have to do it, instead of stopping and going, this isn't going to serve me and this isn't going to serve you, right? Saying that to a client, I'm not in the right place to have a call right now. I mean, actually, after we've had this conversation, I feel in a pretty great place, to be honest, because I get to spend time with you and we're having fun. So it's making me feel much more energized. And go back to listen to the last episode, folks, and get Grumpy Lee. I feel much more energized and ready for the day. But it's just important to stop and go, okay, I need to show up as the best version of me for me and the people that I work with. And if something affects that, I've got to be brave and courageous to say, that's going to affect it. I need to take a different path.
Yeah, and I want to use what you just said there as a beautiful example for how I aspire for my routine to look like. Because you just said it there with us making this time to record this podcast. Folks, we really appreciate you listening to this show because not too many people do. I'm just going to say it. Not too many people do. And that's okay because it's very new. And the fact of the matter is, Lee and I, as much as you may not believe this, but Lee and I do this for what we're doing right now. The benefit that he and I get from having conversations like this, and we know that the few people that do listen benefit from it too, and that more people in time will. But I love when I'm in these moments, making this time to have this conversation with you. This benefits me in every capacity of my life, mate, when I have these conversations with you. I'm a better man for it. I'm a better husband for it. I'm a better coach for it. I'm a better everything for it. And we do this once a month for 90 minutes. And it's great. And the fact of the matter is, if I started to truly set and go back to my word protect, if I used to protect time for better conversations in my week, as you just said, you're coming out of this conversation now, and as much as you don't feel as though you successfully set up your day, you're going to make it a much better day for having had this conversation. Yeah. Which right there tells you that you making time for this kind of thing serves you too. And it's going to continue to serve you if you protect the time to have these kind of conversations. So we are very much practicing, even though we're only doing this 90 minutes a month. And as much as we've maybe beat up on ourselves the last 28 minutes, what we're doing here...
My name's Lee and I'm a failure.
Right. What we're doing here, though, is we're also exemplifying what a step towards doing this correctly can look like. And I really want people to understand that, is that what may seem like, this isn't really worthy of being on my schedule in terms of how I consider myself to be a success and all this kind of thing. Well, the question is, going back to your point on energy, what's it doing for your energy?
Yeah.
What's it doing for your energy?
I hope you're watching this on YouTube, friends, and you should be, because you would have seen Steve, I think, get pretty close to crying there.
Very excited. Very excited.
My friend was getting really emotional there. Yeah. I could feel the energy coming from him. And it's true, right? What are we doing in our lives that challenge us? And I also want to, just as we wrap this up, now, just think about the effect of getting vulnerable with another human being and talking about things that we're struggling with. And, me and Steve are having these conversations with each other, and we hope that there are people out there listening, and this still has a benefit to us, whether anybody's listening or not. My desire is to be incredibly impactful in this world, because I think people need help and I want to help. That's it, right? I have an ability to help and I want to help and I want the world to be better. And I get, so, like Steve, I get so much out of these conversations because they make me be a better coach, because to talk to you, Steve, and to talk to you, the audience, about coaching, about things that humans struggle with, about concepts and models to make your life more effective, better, more fulfilling, I have to stop and really think about, how am I showing up in the world? What is it I do? How do I articulate that to somebody else? And I 100% become a better coach because of these conversations, because I have to think, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And I also love the premise of this episode, that I am sitting there and saying, I feel like a fuck up right now, right? I am.
Yep.
I've not set my day up for success at all. And I'm not setting my weeks up for success right now. And it's so important to share that, because I've had experiences where people look at me, because I have been successful as an elite athlete and elite coach, and now I'm successful in the leadership coaching space, that everything comes easy to me and that it just happens. And I'm always on it and effective, and I don't need support and I don't need help. And that's been a theme for my life, is because I'm so steady and reliable and have such high integrity, people think I don't need help. And I do. And I'm typically not good at asking for it. So I think being able to share that and speak about it and say, hey, I'm struggling. I'm not operating as well as I could. I hope that resonates with the leaders out there that need support and should be asking for it, and go and find somebody to get some support from.
Absolutely. And in closing, I just want to emphasize something that I heard there is, you and I both have the ability to not only burn the candle at both ends, but to do it in a way where we can come across as being very successful with our time. And I'm
okay.
and that in itself is where we can be the victim. We become the victim of what our capacity is and how we're able to manage it. And anybody listen to this, that's the kind of audience that we're trying to build in the show. You hear yourself there. I can do it. I can manage it. It's like, yeah, but really?
Yeah. I have founders that work for sure 80, 90, 100 hours a week, and are not being as effective as they should be, because they're not asking for help. Then they don't know how to rest. They think there's some kind of weakness, there's some kind of worthlessness if they don't work like that, and they're not being effective. And that's why we're sharing this. Like, I'm realizing I'm not being as effective as I could. I need more rest.
Me too. And with that admittance of guilt and just sorrow,
shame,
we can move on with our day with clarity and feel much better. And my commitment to you and to anyone listening to this as well is that I will make the change. I will make the shift. I will adjust. And I look forward to months down the line, maybe us doing a podcast on how we have improved our time and how we are better managing it and how we've gotten there too. I think that could be a very fun loop back around a few episodes down the road. So I'm going to put that one out there, and I see your mind's already going there as well. So
I have two quick commitments before we wrap up, before you close. One, I am going to join you in that energy audit. That's what I'm going to call it.
Yep.
I do this with my clients. Why I'm not doing this for myself, there you go. I'm going to do more of an energy audit of my life in total and my work, and be more effective about how I'm using my energy. And two, I'm also going to share more in this podcast and publicly the times that I get that wrong and I struggle, so that other people, I can normalize it for the other high achievers that we work with. Because a lot of what we consume or I consume, people are just, I'm perfect and this is how I do it, and this is my 10 tips to having a perfect day, and I'm a social media influencer and I never make a mistake. I've never met a human being like that. So I want to normalize that even the smartest, most capable people struggle.
Love it. Well, we opened with you making fun of my bald head, and we're closing with you admitting that you're filled with guilt. So I feel like we're even. That's the beauty of this. That's the beauty of this. Is we just get to talk the way we want to talk, mate. I love it. I love it. And
Glad
anyway.
you haven't carried that through 2 episodes.
No, I don't think so. I have a therapy session in now.
Therapist,
All right,
he
folks.
was mean to me.
We appreciate you. Thank you for listening. This is always fun, Lee. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, mate.